I should have known better than to start looking at my paperwork from Children's Services, because every time I do, it pisses me off. Not only do they continuously spell my name wrong, they often lie depending on what agency it is, and the courts never bother to ask certain questions and stuff, because I was legally adopted to who was supposed to be my birth father, Tom Blankenship, to his brother and wife, which is Rick Blankenship and Vaughn. Vaughn's dead. Rick is living somewhere, probably still molesting kids. But I told them personally that we were kicked out of their house because they were about to be caught doing child abuse, which would have led to them being found out about raping us as kids. And they just believed them saying that I was disobedient, sexually active at the age of 13, and constantly running the streets. No. Only twice did I sneak out of the house. And Rick was the only one that knew about those times and stuff. So that's not true. And then they don't cover what we actually said in court as to why we did not, there's Rick and Vaughn, why we did not want to live with Tom, and why Tom kept bringing us back to the courthouse, which was one of the times Tom tried burning me alive because I wanted to go to sleep at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning when we had to get up at 5:30 in the morning to get ready to go to school, which we had to walk a long ass ways to the school bus, which then the school bus would take us about an hour and a half, 2 hours before it actually got to school. We had to be on the bus I think it was by 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, some shit like that. It was an awful hour in the morning. And then when you get put into group homes, they're allowed to just up and lie and shit about what you do, which I never understood why the courts always kept saying I was doing shit wrong when I wasn't. Because I got accused of standing in the bed pissing it, which I did wet the bed. Which I did not know at the time, I have nerve damage in my bladder and I have an underdeveloped bladder. Not to mention, psychologists have learned that children that are physically and mentally and sexually abused tend to wet the bed. It didn't help that when I was with Rick and Vaughn, they often padlocked me in the room. So there wasn't really much of a choice. And if I ever get done doing my book on dreams, you'll actually learn how I learned to know when I was sleeping that I had to go pee. But I never in my motherfucking life stood on the bed and pissed, especially after clean sheets were put on and stuff. Yes, I probably did fucking cuss a lot because I no longer got beat if I cussed, and I didn't find them to be cuss words. And I did find it wrong that kids weren't allowed to have our jewelry, but staff were allowed to wear jewelry. That was, to me, a contradiction in the rules, which had people known that I was autistic back then, maybe a lot of this would have been solved, but then again, they probably would have locked me up into a lot of the mental institutions and stuff, and would have never been put into foster homes. But they also failed to mention, let's see if I can find it, they also failed to mention why I moved from my first few foster homes, which one of them, the lady was black, and it was her and her daughter that ran the home. And anyone that was non-black had to sleep with this older black man to prove we were not racist. One, I didn't know what a fuck a racist person was. I didn't even know what the word meant. I had never been exposed to that. And all I know is that I did not want to have to sleep with another grown-ass man and stuff. Didn't have much of a choice, but found a way to get out of that foster home, ended up in another one where I didn't get kicked out because of me. I got kicked out because a foster sister called rape on a foster brother. And turned out it was not rape, it was consensual sex, and it was not with a foster brother, but with a foster cousin, technically. It was a foster mother's nephew. No, it was a foster brother. Wasn't for sure if it was a foster cousin that she got pregnant by or foster brother. It was a foster brother. I just remembered who the father of the kid is. So stuff like that. And I mean, they never really are honest with anything. Even like my termination, they're not even honest because they claim that I requested to leave, and that's not true. The foster mother told me to call Children's Services and to have them come get me because there was nowhere for me to go, nowhere for me to live. They didn't want me there, and I needed to have my sister come down and get me, which I ended up fucking up my sister's life because I had her come get me. And that's one of my biggest regrets. I fucked up my sister's life quite often. And she never got to do a lot of stuff in life because of me. Because I was stupid and I listened to fuckheads and stuff. But they also fail to mention that one of the issues is that I lived in over 40 placements from the age of 13 to 18. And this list here is not even the full list, because if you actually read the paperwork, there's actually more that's not listed here, and I remember quite a few more that's not listed here. I had a foster mother that tried to kill me with overdose of medication after being removed from another home when the foster mother tried to beat me with a glass picture frame, and I had to spend the whole day out in the middle of the woods in the middle of winter in Ohio in pajamas. No clothes, no shoes, no nothing, just a pajama. And that was it, because if I had stayed at her sister-in-law's house, she would have had her sister-in-law arrested and stuff. So a lot of these places, it's not always the kids, but yet they lie on the papers. They say whatever in order, and the system has not changed since then. It's the system has not changed. And I aged out in 1994, in June of 1994. They were supposed to keep me through the summer, but the foster family that I got moved to decided they didn't want me, which is funny story about that. They removed me because I told the foster mother that one of the foster sisters was out on the porch having sex with a guy. And that was not true. Her little angel foster kid would never do such a thing. That, and I also had an issue with the fact that I had to share a room with a little tiny kid while that girl got her own private room. After I got removed and was sent back to Michigan to live with my sister, that was a Section 8 hotel I stayed in Skid Row. Stayed with my sister. My worker called me and wanted to know if that foster father ever molested any of the girls or myself, or if I ever got that vibe, because that same little girl, teenager actually, accused him of rape when she got caught doing something wrong. And I was like, nope. And I told your all's asses she was trouble. You all did not want to listen. You all chose her. So I said, I feel sorry for the foster father, but the foster mother deserves everything that's coming to her. Yep. Foster care sucks toad's ass. And even years later, I'm 46 now, and it still traumatizes me.